All right, we got part 2 of are you going to draft the rookie or the vet?
Oh boy. Here we
Okay.
go.
We did part 1, and I'll try and link it here if I remember in the editing process where we looked at, who was it, Badake? We looked at.
It was Amari Cooper, David Bell, and then Brandon Cooks and John Mechie.
That's right. So now we've got Jalen Tolbert or Michael Gallup, and then also we're going to be talking about George Pickens or Chase Claypool.
Oh, okay.
So are we drafting the rookie or the vet? Now, this is based on their current startup ADP and projecting their value in 1 year from now. Okay. So Jalen Tolbert, Michael Gallup, Badake, who are you going to draft if you have to choose one?
Yeah, for me, it has to be Jalen Tolbert. I think it's the cheaper one. Okay, he's going in the late 11th to 12th round, and Michael Gallup's going to 10th to 8th. And really, it's not that big of a difference, really a round difference. But if Michael Gallup is not there, I'm definitely taking Jalen Tolbert with the rookie upside and just the expectation. This is a guy that I spoke about. I think he can be. He was on the list to be one of our breakout plays. I'm not sure if that video is out first or not, but once again, I'm gonna break it down. Michael Gallup and Jalen Tolbert are pretty much the exact same player. Okay, they both have a 5-year contract or a 4-year contract. Sorry, Michael Gallup has a 5-year contract. Jalen Tolbert has a 4-year contract. Both ran a similar 40. Michael Gallup 4.51 and 4.49 for Tolbert. Both 6'1", 200 pounds. One's 194 pounds. Jalen Tolbert's 194 pounds. These guys are very, very similar. And I said this in my other take. I was talking about how I can just see them fighting out to be this wide receiver too. Okay, CeeDee Lamb is clearly the wide receiver 1 now. He's still going to stay in the slot. Where who's going to be on the outside? And in my opinion, that's Jalen Tolbert, and that's the expectation. That's my expectation. This is why this is the best value with the highest upside, in my opinion. Michael Gallup still needs to prove. Let's not forget, he's also injured. Okay, he's tore his ACL. So there's not much injury history with Jalen Tolbert. So I do believe that once again they're going to be fighting for that wide receiver 2 position. I think this is you're not risking or wasting a pick. I think this is a guaranteed good pick for you in moving forward in the future. So why not go with the rookie moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also going to be taking Jalen Tolbert here. I think you can get him cheaper, like you said, and I would argue that I do think Gallup will enter as the outside guy. Okay. I do think he enters the year as the outside guy, and I wouldn't be surprised if the entire year, we see Tolbert playing the Y. But I think long term, I do prefer Jalen Tolbert. And I think a lot of people are going to be saying in the comments, well, you guys are forgetting that he has a 5-year contract. I don't think that there is going to be any favoritism here between Jalen Tolbert and Michael Gallup.
I don't think so either.
You pointed out that they're similar players. They are similar players. Both were actually drafted in round 3 of the NFL draft. So It's not as if one had higher draft capital than the other, and both are from schools that are relatively unknown. I mean, I know Colorado State. I had to look up South Alabama, where Jalen Tolbert was from, but these aren't, 5-star programs. These aren't colleges that everyone's watching on ESPN every week. These are, not the best competition that they face. So both of these players are from similar backgrounds. They weren't from the best schools. They were 3rd-round picks. They both have similar contracts. So for me, I am going to take Tolbert. I'm gonna aim with the youth. I'm going to aim with the player that has less injury history.
Correct.
I think Gallup will be fine from the ACL. I really do think he'll recover fine. But, Tolbert doesn't have any significant injury history, and he didn't have any injuries in college that we need to be worried about. So for me, I do lean Jalen Tolbert. I would say Michael Gallup is still going to be valuable, and I really don't think there's a wrong answer here, because it's not as if they're going 5 rounds in between each other. But I do think if I had to bet money on, all right, in 1 year from now, who would I prefer? Could I trade Michael Gallup for Jalen Tolbert in 1 year from now?
Right.
I don't know that I would be able to do that. Because obviously we've seen Michael Gallup in the NFL more, but I just think we could see Tolbert do something very similar. And I do project this offense being kind of spread out the way it was last year outside of the number 1. So
yeah, I
think
agree.
CeeDee probably gets, 8.5 targets. And then after that, between Gallup, Tolbert, and Schultz, I think 6.5 between all of them. We're going to kind of see this rotation
I think that's
where
okay.
all 3 of those guys are are going to be utilized in very similar ways. So, again, I think Tolbert could be less valuable in year one, but this time next year, would people really be willing to send me Tolbert for Gallup? And I don't think that they would be able to do that, obviously bearing any injuries or anything like that. So I am going to go Jalen Tolbert as well.
Okay.
And the next pair of players we're talking about is George Pickens and Chase Claypool.
That's your boy.
That's my boy, George Pickens. Give me George Pickens or give me death. Mm-hmm. You guys know how much I love George Pickens if you've been around this channel for any more than a week. Let's look at their ADP. Pickens right now is a late 7th to mid 8th ADP in startups. Mm-hmm. Chase is a late 8th to an early 9th. So Chase is going a little bit later. I'll say this. I think Claypool is still a good pick at his ADP. I don't think his ADP is bad. I mean, if you can get Claypool in the 9th round, that feels like pretty good value. But I do have to pick one. And I think this has everything to do with how I view Pickens and less to do with me not believing in Claypool.
Right.
But as a talent, you guys know this. For me, George Pickens, if we're looking at purely talent alone, evaluating his talent, I think he is the second most talented wide receiver in this class. He was one of the most natural wide receiver talents I have seen, Badake, since I began scouting wide receivers.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to think of a wide receiver that I can think of as a more natural wide receiver or born to play this, born to do the position than a guy like George Pickens. And, through my scouting process, he constantly reminded me of one player in particular, and that's AJ Green. So I'm just going to share some light as to why I am high on George Pickens. Okay. Now, am I saying I would draft him, at the 103 in rookie drafts? No, of course not, because the opportunity doesn't line up straight away. But let's talk about why I saw a little bit of AJ Green. On film, they both win in similar ways. They can both bully cornerbacks on routes. They win at the catch point. They are red zone threats, sure hands, true dominators. I mean, if I can actually bring up this graphic here, if you actually look at AJ Green versus George Pickens on their combine and pro days, both 6'3", both similar weight. AJ Green was a little bit heavier. 40-yard dash, George Pickens was a little bit faster. Vertical jump, George Pickens matched that at his pro day. They had almost the same broad jump. And if we actually look at their best college seasons as far as stats go, you can see it's very similar as well. Both 8 touchdowns. Both around 50 catches. So I think a lot of people, when they hear me comp him to AJ Green, they think it's a huge, whoa, just calm down. But I do think it's a very realistic comp, both in the way that they play, the production that they had, and the measurements that they put in. Mm-hmm. And normally when I talk about George Pickens, people have 2 specific worries, and I'll just bring those up now. Number one is, well, aren't you worried about his discipline issues? Well, in this scenario, Badake, are we gonna say that's an argument for Claypool?
Yeah, for Claypool, yeah. I get
Are we really gonna be like, well, disciplinary issues? Claypool doesn't deal with that. I mean, after this year, there were so many things that the team was unhappy with. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that's a very good argument there. And then the second thing is, people ask me if I'm worried about his hand size, because he did measure in a little bit small. But the only way I'm worried about someone's hand size is if it impacted their efficiency in college. So I look at his efficiency in college. What do you know? George Pickens in this class had the best career drop rate. It was an elite number at 2.1%. Just for a little context, Christian Watson was the worst in this class with a 13.7% career drop rate. So he doesn't drop balls. I mean, he was better even than Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, and Bateman coming in. Right. So I love this wide receiver. I'm picking him. I love the upside. I do think his upside is higher than Claypool. I think Claypool's still good at his ADP. But by the way, if you have Kenny Pickett, get all the Kenny Pickett shares you can get. Okay, because this wide receiver core is nasty.
Talk it up.
And you also have Pat Freiermuth as well, and Najee Harris out of the backfield. So buy all the Kenny Pickett shares you can. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I love this wide receiver, and for me, it's the upside that I see. That's why I'm picking George Pickens.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense, and you said it earlier. It doesn't matter which one. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. It just depends on the value, and for me, it's the value. I'm going Chase Claypool here. As much as I can. I love George Pickens and what he can bring. I think it will be a little bit more of a slow start at first.
For sure, I agree.
And I think that maybe at the end of this year, I can probably flip Chase Claypool maybe for something, for something more than I can I was expecting. You know, this class in 2023 is really high up. So even if it's not, even though I won't do this, but I mean, we're getting some talent. I mean, you can get George Pickens at the 201. If you can trade Chase Claypool for a 201 with the expectation, knowing who you can get in 2023, that can be a good upgrade because this class is projected to be better. Anyways, that's just a quick thought. But
I wonder if you could get that anymore for Claypool with the arrival of Pickens.
It is. We haven't really seen much talks or trade with Chase Claypool now that Pickens is there. But yeah, look, for me, it's just based on value. I believe in this team. And one thing that we always used to preach was that before even George Pickens was going to be what was drafted, we were saying Chase Claypool is there to, you know, spread the field, to open up the field because he was a deep ball threat. But they didn't have that with Big Ben. Not saying Kenny Pickett can throw a freaking bomb, which I believe he can, but now you have a quarterback that can do that. Okay. Yeah. Now Chase actually has an opportunity to get those deep ball threats instead of having Deontay Johnson freaking getting 20 touches or 20 targets in the freaking slot, which was great. But now Chase Claypool can actually be fantasy relevant. And I think it's going to open up the door for Chase Claypool. It's going to open up the door for George Pickens. So I think it's a win-win situation here, no matter who you get. Obviously, Chase Claypool probably in the long run is probably not going to be the best because he might resign somewhere. He might go to a worse team because I think he is on his third year of his contract now. So he does have this year and next year to see if he's going to continue with this team. But I am really confident in Chase Claypool moving forward. I do believe he has the faster start. And maybe you have to sell him in the middle of the season and then you kind of see the switch to George Pickens, you know? Maybe it's just based on value. But for me, I'm taking Chase Claypool based on what I can get. I'm getting him later and what I believe that I can sell for him maybe in the midseason or at the end of the season.
For sure. I mean, I have said this multiple times about George Pickens. Don't expect him to come out of the gates firing. Like, this is going to be a slow burn, both with the competition around him and, you know, just getting acclimated to the NFL. I don't think he's going to be one of these year one breakout top 15 guys. I mean, he has a talent, but I don't think the opportunity will be there.
If Chase wasn't there, I think we probably could have definitely seen that. No doubt about it.
Yeah, sure. I agree. I think that would have been a possibility. But with Chase, Deontay, Pat, Najee, you know, it's a little bit harder to see.
People.
So we'll see. But for me, Pickens, the way I envision him is one of these players who has flash games this year. I don't think there's consistency. I don't think he's going to be necessarily startable, but there'll be flash games where you're like, oh, whoa, George Pickens put up 25 fantasy points today. You know, oh, well, next week he put up 3. And then I think, you know, eventually when there's less competition for targets, we're going to see more consistency. So I like the series. Comment down below. Let us know if you enjoyed this, if you have a different opinion to us, or if there's another combination of players that you want to see us have a take on. Comment down below.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLandFam.